Welcome, Star Citizens. It's your boy Lando here. I just wanted to let you know that contest is still going on. We have that contest going till February 29th, where you can win one of two ships. One is attached to a new account, one is not attached to a new account. The new account ship is the Drake Cutter, and it also is going to be coming with a Dragonfly Black now. And the other ship is looking like it's going to be the Cutlass Black so far. Unless you go to that Anvil Spartan video and vote for another ship, that's currently what the ship is going to be. So that Anvil Spartan video should be linked right here. And after you go there, just make sure you like on that video which one of the ships you want. Then on top of that, also remember, in order to win, you have to be subscribed at the time of the drawing. So go ahead and subscribe now. Make sure you also leave a comment, because you have to have left a comment in order to be eligible. And then on top of that, you have to at least like or dislike one of the videos. So go ahead and do that on this video if you want. Otherwise, let's get to ISC. We'll watch it live and then you'll get my reaction. Let's get to it.
One of the major mandates of our evergreen programming is to highlight and explore the works of as many teams contributing to the creation of our universe as possible. And on this continuing road to Alpha 323, 4.0, and beyond, we periodically detour onto the proverbial side streets, if you would, and dedicate some time to those aspects you might not discover following the development of any other game. So on this week's show, I'm proud to highlight a team dedicated to bringing a creative flourish, visual consistency, and contextual meaning to the various companies, factions, and societies of the persistent universe, the branding team from CIG Montreal. Hell yeah, let's go.
All right, where to start? I joined the team in January, about 2 years ago it was. I was coming in from an experience at another company where I had set up the first branding team for a video game, which was a really interesting experience. So when I heard about the opportunity to do it for Star Citizen and build a branding team for a project like that was something that is, you know, you don't want to pass up on. When I stepped into the first few months doing, you know, a bit of a due diligence, looking at the state of what we have in the game already in terms of branding, logos, the different manufacturers and all the brands, the factions, 10 years worth of material being put into the game, often being done by, you know, different artists or different parties and for different reasons also, you know. There was just a wide variety of styles.
I think it would be fun. There
would be a lot of like different interpretations for a single brand. And that was something that I noticed right away and I wanted to tackle as soon as I joined the team, is to try and bring a unifying vision, a bit more consistency to, you know, just help support the Star Citizen narrative, also to augment greatly in terms of immersion. And that was something that I noticed right away and I wanted to tackle as soon as I joined the team.
Yes. That suit is just for spray painting. Please let us paint, CIG. I want to be able to spray paint on people's ships.
Defining, like
I won't steal your ship. I just want to spray paint
nice
on it.
Posters and cute little signs. We get involved with character design, the ships, you know, creating the manufacturers for the ships. We touch marketing, we touch web. It's just such a wide range of different applications and topics that we go through.
I think it's as important as any other parts of the game.
It creates brand cohesion and a really good immersion for the player.
If it comes to, yeah, obviously like brands and logos, you know, if it's a ship, you know, make it look real professional, like it's a, you know, like in real life, like a fancy car company or something like that, you know.
Well, branding is an important part of the environment development. You know, developing the locations, I think it helps a lot with immersion. One of the things that we've tackled recently is some navigational signage for the landing zone. So, you know, putting up maps, putting up signage, different assets that we add to the game to help the player understand his environment, understand the gameplay, understand the locations, the story, the narrative.
It adds a visual component to the narrative to create a more impactful story. So you have the brand like the narrative that people know, but then with the visuals, we can add an extra layer to it.
In Star Citizen, especially for the manufacturers, everything revolves around ships, and the manufacturers are very important in their core to the gameplay and the identity of the game. And I noticed that, a lot of these very important brands didn't have that unifying vision that we were looking for. So Mirai was a new brand that we created, which was basically a performance division of MISC. So when you look at Mirai, we start off with brand and positioning, the brand bio, so a history of the brand, basically, a little bit what they're about, a tagline. So this is where, we're collaborating with the narrative team to come up with these the information for this. And then that is the first, the starting point. That's all part of the brand style guide.
This is a title. This is a subtitle. I love it.
A style guide is for everyone to really get to understand the company, and you try to keep it simple, but you put all the elements you need, like the logos, the colors you're allowed to use, the typography that goes with that company, even shapes. Every company has colors. If the primary color is blue, let's say, you can't go out and do like branding for that company or make it like red, So we're all trying to like tie everything together to make sure everybody's on the same page.
What's interesting about Drake is it was one of the first brands that I had to interact with when I joined the company. First thing I did was research a little bit about the brand and noticed that there was a lot of multiple versions and interpretations of the brand. That was the first one that we had to make a hard call on, what this brand is and how do we define it. So Drake, we wanted to bring it in a little bit closer to the essence of the brand. It's more, not the black sheep, but the outcast, if you will, in the manufacturers. So it's always tried to get in with the big boys at Fleet Week, but it's never managed, hence why they have their defense con a little bit on the side. So we wanted to tie into that and wanted to have that, not that evil vibe to it, but that, the outcast vibe, a little bit rebellious. So the black and red was an obvious choice. And it's something that we had already in the game for Defense Con, and I thought that worked better than anything else that we had previously produced. Same thing, we're looking at Crusader. We noticed that ships are using red and gray branding on the ships for Crusader. If you visit Horizon, there's a showroom that they have there that's completely all black and white. If you walk around the halls on Horizon, you notice there's some branding for Crusader that is blue and white. So we had, again, multiple interpretations of the same brand, and we wanted to unify that, bring it in a little bit more. So we started looking at the brand itself, what was interesting, what felt right with the essence that was, put forward by narrative and in the lore, and also, through the community. And we came up with the version of Crusader that we have now. So obviously touching these brands, 10 years in on a project, there's a lot of history on the game, meet some resistance, and, you got to be careful and how far you go into updating the brands, even if it's for the better. It's always good to respect, the work that's been done prior. But all in all, a very good experience so far, and I think we're making some good progress on a lot of these. In addition to making all the branding for you, for the players, we also make stuff for us. Working on tools as well. This one of the things that I noticed when I joined is we didn't have a proper channel to communicate to everyone freely and openly, and in a way that would, encourage the devs and everybody on the different various teams to actually use these tools, these style guides, and these resources that we're creating for them. So we came up with the idea of creating a brand catalog.
So the brand catalog is for in-house. So it's the documents that will be used for all the teams, where the whole of the information for all the manufacturer brands mostly will be found. And you will have downloadable links for all the assets. So everything will become super cohesive for in-house, and also when everything comes out in game and in marketing, everything will have the same, all the manufacturer brands will have the same look and feel.
So we, starting it off with the manufacturers, obviously, they are front and center, but it will grow into, all the rest of the brands that we see in the universe. Pyro was, I think, is one of my favorite mandates we've done so far for the branding team. Not only because we're touching a specific aspect of branding that is not often talked about, also because we have the right team members to tackle this sort of mandate, and it was a lot of fun for it because the team was really excited about that.
Graffiti is another part of my background, which me and Max worked a lot on this aspect back in the days in our life. So we had a lot of fun building the graffiti structure. Each graffiti style were really existing graffiti style from all around the world, and we had to reproduce as much accurately possible the tags, throw-ups, murals, or any aspect of the realness of graffiti, which that was a lot of fun.
Basically, like, we drew all the graffiti, and we made their space look really grimy, and the signage, you know, the relic signage, but lots of graffiti too, lots of like faded, dirty
That was awesome.
layers and layers of stuff on the walls.
So it was really amazing to see how they took some visuals that existed that the environment team had created, and they came in and went over this with the different graffiti. So they really developed like all the layers that you need for it to feel real.
That was something that is very rich and is extremely fun to bring forward with the visuals and the branding. And at that point, it's more than branding. It becomes like storytelling, basically, right? You're telling a story through all the elements that you're putting on the walls and in the environment that help sell the lore and, again, augment immersion and the experience for the player. Defining the factions that we found in Checkmate Station by the Rough and Ready was a lot of fun. Creating the identity of a faction, a gang, right? In space, in a derelict, abandoned station in the middle of nowhere.
I think you really get a vibe when you get there, when you enter the zone. Like, right away, you know it's Rough and Ready. They made the logo like a big sculpture, so I thought this was pretty cool from like where it started to where it's at now. I think the graffiti and the sculpture does it mostly.
Oh, that's cool.
Had the opportunity to work with the character team to define a little bit of the tattoos that go in line with the direction that we had, for the type of faction we wanted this gang to look like.
I started the brainstorm around tattoos, which were all bring a bit of like violence and of contrast on parts of the skins of the character design.
So we had specific references. We had as targets and a special feel that we wanted to have for this gang, because there's not only one gang, there's multiple, and they all need to have, each their own unique identity.
There's a part of me who always wanted to be a tattoo artist, but I think this kind of work is a work of art by itself. So the character artists really managed to bring a lot of the visual identity we started from. All the polishing was really the character artist who managed a great job.
Well, to me, I think the branding side is often looked over, and I think we're building a team here to put an emphasis on the branding side. Every little things, the little graffiti and the logos and the signage, the navigational signage, everything. I think we're trying to push it a little further.
It's all about making one step closer to the real world, which we're surrounded every day by branding and either textures, typography, everything.
I think we're the cherry on top of the sundae. I think that branding makes the whole game feel more real. And I think this is where we can also develop like this emotional connection to everything that you see in game and everything that the player uses, buys, and interacts with.
The opportunity to do graphic design and advertisement, fake advertisement within a game, so rich and deep as Star Citizen is. I don't know a graphic designer that wouldn't want to like to contribute or participate or be part of a team like this. There's so much variety, there's so much to do. The lore and the narrative is so rich. it's just a never-ending stream of opportunity to create really cool stuff.
So what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully we learned that branding is for more than just marketing uses. It's a tool and an artistry that can apply to many aspects of universe creation, including signage, personal identity, and maintaining a universe of internal consistency that doesn't break immersion. Now, don't forget that our Lunar New Year, Coramore, and the associated free fly events all start today, so you can mosey on over to the robertspaceindustries.com website for details. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
That's it for that. Now, my reaction. All right, so my reaction. I think that video was awesome. So one of the things that I think we always get wrapped up in is we always talk about like ships, and we talk about like the gameplay features and stuff like that, but we sometimes don't pay enough attention to the world that we live in. And I love when they focus on these things that we tend to forget because we are so busy worrying about what's the next ship we're gonna buy or what's the next gameplay that's gonna come out. But this world that they're building, you gotta really appreciate it, man. This type of world is very difficult to build. I mean, just like the realism of this game is added to every time people focus on things like branding, right? So if we are, let's say, a space trucker, and we want to, you know, only work for Fizz, right? Then we get all this special gear and equipment, right? Because the more we work for Fizz, the better, right? Just delivering soda around the universe, right? And I think there's something so unique about that Fizz will give you unique gear and stuff like that just because you work for Fizz. And not to mention, like, maybe wearing that stuff gives you, I don't know, a buff when you talk to people or something like that. Like, we don't know yet, but at the same time, it just makes the game so much more realistic. Like, imagine walking into a shipping hub, and as soon as you get there, you see all these people wearing different gear, and it kind of signifies where they work or who they work for, not just for people who are, you know, doing cargo, but like it lets you know, like, oh, okay, when I see this uniform, I know that that's security, and so on and so forth, right? But what type of security, right? The branding of UEE is going to be different than, of course, like the branding of like personal security or private security. And on top of that, it just makes the world feel more alive. And I didn't know that the branding team also worked on the map and like the outlay of the maps as well. So that's new data to me. So I always love these episodes. I think we gotta give credit where credit is due for the world that CIG is building, and I think these episodes do that. But there is something that I wanted to check. So we need to go back to that video because they revealed something, and I always notice in these videos that there's a little thing that they reveal, and sometimes I don't know if they mean to reveal it, or maybe it's something that's already been revealed and I just didn't know it personally. So let's cut back and we'll go back to that part of the video that I'm talking about, and we'll talk about that. All right, so this is what I wanted to talk to you about. So if you look here, it says brand bio and positioning, and then it's this thing on the right where it kind of reveals the brand positioning, right? So it doesn't have every manufacturer on there, of course, but I don't think I actually pay attention to this type of thing when I am thinking about Star Citizen. So if you look, it of course has Anvil and Aegis at the top, and it says military, right? But did you know that, and of course RSI as well, but did you know that RSI was closer to industrial than it was to high design than Anvil? I didn't know that. I thought when I look at RSI ships, they look more high design than Anvil ships. And Aegis is in the middle. Aegis is more high design than RSI. I didn't know that. This is, again, one of the reasons that I really think people should watch these videos and really pay attention when they watch them is things like this are revealed. And maybe this is somewhere that we can go and look at this, but I've never seen it. If you know, please drop a, you know, like, subscribe and all those things, but drop a comment And tell me where I can find this information if there's more brand positioning information. If not, this is really cool to me. Like Tumbrel, higher design. Now Origin, of course, we would know that Origin is high design. We also know they don't make military ships, right? Even though some of their ships can fight pretty decent. Crusader, they just released the A1, so I would expect them to be higher than Origin, like closer to military, right? But they're not. They're lower than Origin is as far as military. You see that? Like they're more commercial than Origin is. That blows my mind. The same thing with MISC. Like MISC is more high design than Anvil, Aegis, and RSI. I remember a long time ago, I made this post on Reddit and I was asking like, which manufacturer do you think is like the highest design, right? Like I was asking that in so many words and people kept saying RSI. They have the high design thing. They're like super like high design or whatever. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, folks, you were wrong. That RSI is heavy military, heavy industrial. And that's just new to me. So where would I think these places would fall, right? So I would think Origin would be all the way down on commercial, and I can do it with my mouse here. So I think Origin would be around this area. I thought they would be max high design, which they are, and max commercial, right? But when you think about it, they do have some defensive, some really cool like armor on their ships. So maybe they would be a little bit higher, but I would think Crusader would definitely be higher. They have the A2. They have the A2. They have the M2. They have the A1, right? Like those are, I get it, they're civilian ships, right? So I wouldn't put them all the way up, you know, near the military, but I would probably put them like up here somewhere. I wouldn't think Origin has more military, you know, branding or positioning than Crusader does. And MISC really surprises me because I would think MISC with the whole series and everything, I just assume they would be more on the industrial side. They're high design? If you think MISC is high design, give me some reasons why in the comments, because that one might confuse me more than anything. I think RSI and MISC both, right? Now Tumbrel I think is about where it should be, but they make the Nova, so maybe a little bit higher on the military side. Now Drake should be definitely higher on the military side, and Argo I think is almost exactly where it needs to be, except I personally really like Argo ships. I like the way they look, so I might put it a little bit closer to the middle as far as high design. But yeah, I think this is a really cool thing that they did, so I'm glad they did it. It definitely opened my eyes to something. So yeah, that was expanding branding, the ISC for Thursday. So thanks for taking this trip with me. It's been great. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment so you can enter that contest. 2 ships for a new player and 1 ship for a player that's been here all along. And we're onward to 5,000 subscribers, so let's see if we can get there. All right, that's been it for this one. Thanks for spending your time with us. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.